I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music Today, continuing our tour of Britain. We are going to review the 1998 release, the third album from Massive Attack called Mezzanine. This album, would you describe Massive Attack's music as trip-hop?
Yeah.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were one of the kind of pioneers between like them, Tricky, and Portishead, which Tricky actually used to be a member of Massive Attack in their very early days, and then, they kind of split ways, but this actually takes their sound kind of a different direction towards the slower and more moody, really dark, this album is.
This is pretty dark. And lots of bass. And one thing that fascinated me about this is in Massive Attack, we did Heligoland, their 2010 album, one of our very early reviews.
Really early review.
And I remember both of us really liking that album. Specifically, and I think this is true throughout Massive Attack's work, but they do a very nice job of presenting that low-end kind of moody sound, but also doing a nice job of incorporating male and female vocals on it. Gives it a nice variety, gives a different takes on that dark mood, where you have some austere qualities, and you also have just some more just creepy kind of in the sewers talking like this.
It can get pretty dramatic at times, and I could see it coming off as tacky to some people. Honestly, it did at first to me, but once you listen through it and you appreciate the production and the songwriting, it kind of needed to be that way.
Speaking of tacky, there's one thing I have to get off my chest right now, because Tom picked this track, and this is the one track I just can't get into, and it's track 7, Man Next Door. The vocals, the male vocals in this, he just, it's so over the top, lots of fluctuation in pitch, and it reminds me of that added scene in Return of the Jedi in Jabba's palace where that stupid creature's walking around just singing ridiculous, it's just 5 minutes of just disgusting nothing that you don't need, and I kind of just, it's not that bad on that song, but it reminds me of that, and I can't get into it. But Tom really likes that track, so just wanted to throw that out there.
I love how Return of the Jedi is the one thing that makes you not like that track, just because it makes you associate it with it.
Well, it was such a ridiculous add to that movie. They didn't need to add. George Lucas, what were you thinking? For Christ's sakes, it ruins that scene. Anyways, off the Star Wars bus. Back to music. But overall, this album, I mean, the number one thing about Massive Attack is just production. You listen to this album, and it is just this beefy, bass-driven, low-end sound. Tom, you have to appreciate that. One of the things that I love is how they're able to focus on the low end and have that be the driving core of their music, but at the same time, they're able to keep that high end because there's some delicate high-end melodies that really offset the low end that they're able to still retain, and it's a very crucial part of the mix, so I'm really glad that they were able to keep that defined and established. But overall, this is just a really balanced record. Mezzanine shows Massive Attack's just unwielding ability to just have control over their sound, to know exactly what it is that they do and how to control it. Lots of dynamics in the songwriting, lots of contrast. It's really a nice approach. It's fresh. But the double-edged sword with that, when your sound is so controlled, there's really not a lot of moments that stick out. It's a nice listen overall, but it is what it is. There's not a lot of just overwhelming moments. But overall, it's just a really strong album, in my opinion.
Something I want to mention about the production that you kind of touched on already, and it's actually very appropriate that we're reviewing this right before Dr. Dre.
Right.
Because Dr. Dre just came out, Dr. Dre 2001 came out just a year after this, 1999. I know it's kind of confusing. His album 2001 came out in 1999. But anyways, this was actually an even earlier example of production styles moving towards the very split extreme low end and extreme high end in the beats. Because if you listen to Massive Attack's earlier work, or even Tricky or Portishead, or like Prodigy's Fat of the Land that came out in 1997, you hear a lot of these kind of like crazy like jungle and house beats that are very mid-range. A lot of mid-range, whereas here it's all bass and then like the very sparkling high end, and the mid-range is more for the vocals to sit in.
Right.
And that style has really stayed alive even since then, in like the 14 years since this thing's come out. So, talk about trend setting. I mean, these guys were really pioneers. They might not have been the first ones to do it, but they definitely pushed it forward. And I mean, when you combine that with just the great songwriting on this album.
Especially Teardrop.
Yeah.
Tom and I both love
Oh my God. Teardrop is one of the best songs I've ever written.
And you were
I think.
mentioning to me before the episode started that one of the members actually wanted Madonna to be.
Yeah, that's what I read. That's what I read. But they got the girl from Cocteau Twins instead to sing it, so, and I think she does a great job. The vocals are just so gorgeous.
That is the clear highlight. Overall, I really love this album, and I think with time I'll love it even more. Just Massive Attack's just total control over their sound and their approach is just something that I find to be really addictive. I'm going 88 on this one. I really like it.
I'm meeting you there, 88.
88. What do you guys think? What's your favorite Massive Attack album, and what do you think of Mezzanine as far as how it works in their discography and where it took music in general, especially the trip-hop genre? Let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, get involved in the musical conversation on the social networks. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.